Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's session entitled Smarter, Simpler IT Procurement for the Canadian Public Sector. I'm Will Russell from Atlantis, and I'll be your host and co-presenter for today's conversation. Before we get started, I wanted to mention today's presentation is being recorded, and we will share a link to it after today's session with all of you. Also, throughout the presentation, we will have a few polls we will be posting, and we'd love for you to answer them if you can. We've also set aside a few minutes for questions at the end of this presentation, so feel free to put yours in the chat as we're going through at any time, and we'll get to them as soon as, or get to as many as we can at the end. Now, let's get into today's topic. Modernizing IT shouldn't mean jumping through hoops. Whether you're early in your digital transformation journey, working to digitize business processes, looking to modernize your records management, or even just moving off your legacy systems and into Microsoft 365. One of the biggest barriers we see as a company is the traditional RFP process, which can slow your momentum and really stall progress entirely for some municipalities. That's why we're excited to talk about cooperative purchasing today, and specifically how it helps municipalities like yours simplify the procurement process, stay compliant with your regulations, and get started faster with a trusted pre-vetted partner such as ourselves. I'm going to be joined today by Tony DeCiccio, the Manager of Supplier Relations at Canoe Procurement Group of Canada. Tony brings deep experience in strategic sourcing, contract management, and helping public sector organizations drive long-term value through smarter procurement. Tony, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Will. Looking forward to it today.
Oh, beautiful. I'm really excited to have you here with us to go through this. To get started, Tony, I guess for those who may not be familiar, can you tell us a bit about what the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada is and really how you support municipalities across Canada?
Yeah, of course. So Canoe is a nonprofit group purchasing organization, and sometimes you might hear me refer to as GPO for short. And essentially what we do is we conduct an open competitive procurement process on behalf of our members, and that ensures compliance with the trade obligations that Canada is party to, whether it's national or international in scope. And for what that means for our members and our suppliers is that we're streamlining that procurement process so that our vendors can gain access to a broad network of potential clients, while our member municipalities can benefit from those pre-vetted suppliers and contracts that are ready to use when they need them. And then lastly, I think what sets us apart is that we give back. As a nonprofit organization, we collect an administration fee through the contract, which allows us to stay funded. But we also give back to Canadian communities by contributing proceeds from that administration fee back to our partners across Canada.
Well, that's amazing. And I think that really does help set the stage for the conversation today. I think it's pretty clear that Canoe is offering that streamlined, compliant path for the municipalities, but also really one that can be flexible. But I love the community-driven part of that for the giving back side of things. I guess the question I really wanted to ask you is, from your perspective, is what changes are you seeing in that IT procurement space right now that's really making this model so important in today's landscape?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Will, because I think what I've seen from my past managing procurement projects and at a municipality and at that government level is that I find IT is uniquely challenging in the speed at which technology changes, right? So, that planning process that goes around it from a member perspective, developing a scope of work, issuing the RFP can take a lot of time for a member to go through. And so during that time that you're planning and issuing the RFP process, that technology landscape can shift and change. And sometimes there's even that, did we get all the innovation? Are we looking at all the innovative ways to look at that procurement? So I think what Canoe does to help solve some of that challenge is to offer the flexibility in our contracts and have those ready to use contract models for our members to be able to use and connect with suppliers to start developing solutions that meet their needs and maybe not an in the box type of solution. So I think that's one of the things that I find uniquely beneficial when a member can leverage a Canoe IT project or program contract.
Well, yeah. I guess that flexibility is the important part of this. Like obviously in technology, and we see it every day. Like the technologies are changing. That how Microsoft calls one product one day could be calling something else another day, and there's always just a change in what everything can be done. So having that flexibility to be able to talk with vendors and move things forward, I think really is a benefit for the municipalities. Obviously, especially as things are moving as fast as they can with the technology, right? So. But I know even with those good intentions, we know municipalities still face a lot of hurdles with this in actual practice, right? So I know myself, we often hear that the RFP process is a bottleneck for a lot of the municipalities. In your experience, Tony, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen for the municipalities facing when it comes to this process?
Yeah, very similar. Well, I think it's we think of procurement being a bottleneck. It's probably more, I would say, it's around the whole process, right? The development, the internal collaboration that happens, with for a member, right? There's multiple stakeholders, and that's the other thing about IT projects is it's usually a transformational type of project for an entire organization. It might not, in a lot of cases, it's not uniquely, centered around maybe one division or one department, but it can affect multiple departments. So there's a lot of collaboration that would typically happen, at least on projects that I've worked on. And so that multiple stakeholder engagement can create some complexities, right? When you're seeking multiple stakeholder input. So I think, our process allows that connection to happen sooner in the process and get the suppliers involved in, being taking a more of a consultative role in developing a solution. And I think that's key to creating, improved outcomes, I would say, for a member, because now they don't have to assume. They can have that connection, create a, a solution that meets their needs, and doesn't limit innovation or missing any opportunities there for innovation when it comes to getting that supplier involved earlier in the process.
What you just said there it hits me right here because I've heard this story 1,000 times from municipalities, but like one that really comes up, and that exact challenge came up recently with a vendor that we went through the RFP process with. And they shared with us that during their RFP process, they felt really limited. They couldn't have the open conversations with vendors. They were really locked into the scope of work they had put together, and even through asking the follow-up questions with you have to submit via email and answering them in slots, they felt like they weren't able to go adjust their scope without restarting the entire process again, which was just going to be a big bottleneck for them. And so they just kind of pushed forward. I think what really stood out, though, a part of that conversation was that one of their members told us how much they appreciated the ability to actually negotiate directly with a vendor through a cooperative purchasing model like Canoe. It gave them the freedom to kind of explore their options, ask those questions, and really shape the solution in real time and really get away from those bottlenecks and the stress of having to restart. I guess that kind of flexibility for me it really makes that big difference for municipalities. Especially when it comes to these larger IT projects where things are evolving at real time, and sometimes these RFPs can take 3-4 months to actually get through the line. And once you've done that, we're actually rescoping the project after it's been awarded because it's not actually where it was when we started. So I guess with all that said, we know cooperative purchasing is still a bit of a gray area for some folks, and I'm sure for a lot of people on the call are wondering, like, how can we take advantage of this? But I guess the question I have for you is, like, what are some of the common myths or misunderstandings you hear from the municipalities when they're signing up to be a vendor with Canoe? And what do you say to them to help clear those myths up?
Yeah, I think one of the big ones that we hear, Will, is that cooperative purchasing limits the flexibility for a member. That when we go out to RFP, we're going out for a specific good or service, right? And that's actually that's probably the big misconception I see, is because what we do when we go out to RFP is we issue it as a solutions-based RFP, and we're looking for those suppliers, or what it really means for those suppliers, that they're selected based on their ability to meet a range of needs, not just like a specific, a scope of work, or like a checklist of items, right? And so what that really helps empower that supplier to do is come to the table for a member with a solution to that member's problem, rather than trying to fit, their scope of work to meet the member's problem. And so that flexibility, I think, is one of the things that is probably one of the big misconceptions. And again, as I mentioned, allows that collaboration, allows for that problem solving process to happen between, the two parties in that case. And focus on other things like total cost of ownership. I know so many times, like you said, you get through a procurement process, and then so many things may have changed technologically, or the way, service delivery can happen, and that could result in change orders afterwards, or rescoping of projects and things like that. So this, this vehicle is meant to help achieve that flexibility and have those kinds of conversations. And at the end of the day, the nice thing about that is, if the member is not happy with their proposed solutions that they're working on with the supplier, they're not tied to anything. They're not obligated, and that flexibility allows them to walk away at the end of the day. So it really drives value for, the supplier, to drive value for the member, and the member to see the value in working with the supplier. It's almost from a no risk perspective in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's a really important point, especially with the idea that members aren't locked in. It kind of really reinforces that cooperative purchasing isn't just faster, but it gives more control back to the municipalities. And I think it's important for me to mention as well, like, we went through an RFP process with you to become a preferred vendor. So you've gone through to qualify us, and I know we're on your website as an IT services provider. And if people want to check out who we are, they can actually see the scoring that you gave us when you approved us as a vendor, right? So I think that's really important for people to be able to at least go check us out if they want to take a look at that first. So with that said, and going into that point there, I guess for those who are really on this webinar today, who are newer to the Canoe process or this model, what does the process actually look like for a Canoe approved vendor to work with a company like ourselves here at Elantis?
So I like to think of it, Will, in 3 steps, right? So the member makes that connection with the supplier that they're interested in working with, and mentions that they're a Canoe member and want to work through the Canoe program with that supplier. That's when the collaboration begins, between that member and the supplier, to come up with a solution that meets their needs. And like I said, once that member is comfortable, if they feel like, that supplier can fully meet the member's needs, and they're satisfied with the overall proposed solution, it's as simple as that member now issuing that purchase order to the supplier. And the two key pieces of information that always follows that documentation process is that member's member number that they have with Canoe, and the Canoe contract number that the supplier falls under. And that's it. That's as simple as it gets.
That is extremely simple, and let's be honest, with public sector and municipalities, the easier the better, right? That's what we're always looking for. So you did mention that speed is a factor here, right? And moving forward, I know it may not be for everybody, but just offhand, do you know how quickly you've seen a project go from an idea to fully in motion using this continuous purchasing model?
Yeah, I love hearing these stories from members, because it makes me happy to see, them, being able to leverage our program so efficiently. And I've heard stories of members engaging with a supplier and issuing a PO to them, like as quickly as 5 days, which is so exciting to hear. And again, it's, being that tool in their toolbox to have an efficient process they can rely on. So that was, so we've heard that. And again, it's all really, again, I think to the point you made, Will, it all depends on the members, ability to move as quickly as they can, really, at the end of the day.
Oh, I mean, 5 days. I mean, as an account manager here with Elantis, I mean, that is music to my ears. Obviously, I like to get things to move quicker, and the more we can do that, the better. I guess I have one final question for you, or maybe two, but the first would be, is there an example of a municipality that have used Canoe for their procurement that you can maybe give to the people on the call, and what kind of benefits that they've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak to an example. City of Lethbridge did a great article on us a couple of years ago, and they referred to us as their Costco, which was exciting. And I always preface that with, we don't charge membership fees, but like Costco does. But it was a nice, it was certainly a nice compliment to hear that, that municipalities look at us, almost first before they decide, make the decision. Should we go to RFP? Or let's look at what Canoe has to offer in terms of their approved suppliers. So that's exciting. And, we have over 4,000 active members across Canada. So I'd say we're doing something right. And then just from a personal perspective, being a practitioner in public procurement back in the day, it was a lifesaver for me too, right? Because I could use these contracts quickly and effectively so that I could move on to other big projects that our team was focusing on for our internal clients. So it's nice to see that other members are getting the same types of benefits.
I mean, 4,000 members, I mean, that's a real testament to how valuable people are seeing the model. And I really do love the quote about the Canoe being the Costco procurement. That's probably the best endorsement you can get, even if you don't charge membership fees. And so I guess speaking on that, I know you said no membership fees, and that's amazing. But is there any kind of commitment or minimum spend that the municipalities have to do through Canoe if they become a member?
No, and that's the I think the beauty of leveraging Canoe, because there is no cost to join and become a member. There is no minimum spend requirements. It's totally voluntary for a member to use. So we're always trying to demonstrate value for our membership, right? Because we have to earn their trust, and we have to earn their business in a lot of ways. And again, as a nonprofit, we're funded by those administration fees that I talked about, that are paid by our suppliers when they earn business with our members. So that's what keeps us going. That's what drives the value, that we try to demonstrate for our members, across Canada.
Oh, that's also awesome. So I think that is all the question I have from my side. Did you have any questions for me, Tony, in terms of being on the vendor side?
Oh yes, I've got a few here for you. So let me start off. In terms of, um, from your perspective on the vendor side of things, what types of IT services are municipalities coming to Elantis for right now?
Bit of a loaded question, but happy to answer it. I think from my side and the conversations I'm having with a lot of people, modernization and digital transformation are really at the thread that runs through almost every conversation we have with the municipalities. And we're seeing a lot of momentum around digitizing and automating internal processes. And those are things like training applications, employee onboarding, or even permit approvals that may have been paper-based in the past and now want to be moved to a more automated, trackable workflow that we would do through the Power Platform and Power Apps or Power Automate and things along those lines. Another big focus is really creating that collaborative digital environment. And so a lot of municipalities will have an intranet. They may have had it on an old SharePoint Online or on-prem site. They're really taking that more into the SPO SharePoint Online space now, where things can be a lot more collaborative and staff can stay more connected, especially as more teams are now working hybrid or even remote fully, right? So and that is one major thing. And then also finally, something I was really passionate to me, but is a little bit more on the dull side, a lot of people might say, and that's really records management. We know it's a priority for a lot of municipalities, and a lot of them are still using legacy systems that are still on-prem, like Laserfiche or OpenText or Highland OnBase. And they're really looking at how can we modernize this? How can we take it into the 21st century? And they're looking at using SharePoint Online with Microsoft Purview and just trying to find the ways where they can stay FOIPA compliant and keep their records sustainable. So I guess really the crux of it, to bring it all together, is that well, specific projects vary. The goal seems consistent by the municipalities. It's really helping their teams work more efficiently. They want to stay compliant, and they want to manage their information in a way that actually makes sense for them and their employees as well as their citizens. So.
No, that's really cool. Well, like I see some of these, or listen to some of these things that you're going through, and yeah, it's a lot of work on a member side, having to do a couple of those projects back in the day. So I know it's a lot of work. So when they can find the right supplier, it is a huge help.
For sure.
And so I guess talking about, challenges, are there any particular challenges that stick out in your mind or repeatedly come across your desk when it comes to, towns and cities that you deal with?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, I'd say it's not just about choosing the right technology. I think most municipalities know the technologies and stuff they want to use and what they want to move forward with. Granted, we do consult and we do help them decide on things when they don't know. But I think the biggest challenge we see is really around those procurement thresholds that the IT departments have or the business units have. Like once a deal crosses a certain price point, so whether it's 15,000, 50,000, 100,000, it either goes from, hey, I can sign off, or hey, I need 3 bids and a buy, or now I got to go full RFP, right? And so that can really slow things down once a lot of these bigger projects are hitting those top thresholds. And it can make it harder to have those meaningful conversations with the people as soon as they hear roughly what a price might be. They, okay, I got to stop. I can't talk to you anymore. We need to do the RFP process, right? Because we want to make sure you're able to bid on it. I guess, and with that at the same time, like most municipalities these days, they are working with smaller budgets. I mean, everyone I'm talking to, like the IT budgets they're getting slashed right now. And we're seeing inflation going up, we're seeing property taxes going up. And so they're having to try to do more with less. And so what they really need to find a way is to have those flexible solutions that they can deliver to their internal teams and their citizens without spending months in procurement, which can really drag on the cost of the project, even if it's not the full cost that they're paying up front, but it's that initial cost of the time investment of doing the RFPs and everything like that. All of that does cost money, and people don't really think of that on that side of things a lot. So for me, it's not that the municipalities don't know what they need. They really do. It's just that the traditional path is getting long, really complex, and often misaligned with how fast they want to move. So it's really about providing the people with the right stories and the right information to go, hey, this is why this is important for us to do this project and drive it forward. And I really think that's where like the Canoe group and us being a authorized vendor can really help clear that path forward for people. So
Yeah, that's great. And one thing there too, Will, is not just limited budgets, but people are retiring and it creates more work for the people that are left there to finish them, right? So there is a lot of challenges happening right now, I'm sure, across the board. And so the other thing I want to ask you about is if you could walk us through a project that really highlights what Elantis brings to the table for municipalities.
yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. And I mean, you brought them up earlier with the article they did for you guys. So I think I'll use a similar example, and that is with the city of Lethbridge. And we built out their new intranet on Microsoft SharePoint Online, which they call CityWise. They were previously using SharePoint 2013. It was really an old internet that had become like a major pain point for them. It had an inconsistent design. It had a lot of duplicate content in it. It really wasn't searchable and had limited governance around it. So with their workforce now, which is actually about 40% working in the field or remotely, they needed more of a centralized mobile-friendly platform that employees could easily access from anywhere. So what we did to help them through this was we really worked closely with the city and their project team to help rebuild CityWise using Microsoft 365's native features. The reason we use native features is so that, hey, if there are updates, it's not going to break by using third-party or custom code and things like that. It will constantly be updated. It makes it a lot easier to use, which also helps it be more future-ready for their team. It makes it a scalable solution without relying on developers having to go back and update things constantly. We did that through developing collaboratively with the team. And really, we had a big focus on change management to ensure they had a high adoption rate. And since we've gone live with this, and the results have been incredibly positive so far. And the new internet's intuitive, it's been easy to maintain for them, and it's already being recognized by their leadership, including the city manager and even the mayor, for its impact on communication productivity within the city. And so I do want to say, like, we do the projects as well, but we don't stop there with people. Like, we're not a person who wants to be transactional and do one thing. We keep that business relationship going, and we do offer managed services and support services for these clients as we go forward. And we're currently doing a support services offering to help them maintain and get up to speed and drive forward and also train, but then also build out that roadmap of what comes next. Hey, you've set up your internet now. You really should consider looking at A, B, C, and D, whether that's records management, which is actually where they're going to focus. Or do we need to do automation? Do we need to do implement teams better or things along those lines? And that's all a part of the conversations we get into as we're doing the projects.
Nice. The benefit
Yeah,
of long-term relationships, right, Will?
100%. So I know we're getting a bit tight on time here for everyone. So Tony, I did want to kind of wrap this up with one last question back to you. And that's just really, if you could give one piece of advice to the municipalities and the people we have on the call today, what would it be when it comes to simplifying their IT procurement?
Okay, simple. Reach out to our suppliers, have that conversation, start the discussions. And if you're not sure, reach out to our member relations team. They're here to help as well at Canoe to guide. But that would be the thing I would say, to wrap things up is reach out to the suppliers, start that conversation going, give Will a call and talk about what that problem looks like and see if there's a solution there that our suppliers can help you with.
Oh, perfect. Well, before we go to the questions, I do want to thank everyone for joining us today, and a big thank you to you, Tony, and the Canoe team for the partnership here with us. If you are a part of the municipality or public sector organization and want to simplify IT procurement process and you're not a part of Canoe yet, you can visit canoeprocurement.ca to learn more and to get started. If you do have a specific project in mind, whether that's internet modernization, records management, or M365 adoption, book a call with Elantis or myself directly, or visit us at Elantis.com. We're always happy to talk through your goals and help you figure out the right next steps. And even if you're not sure where to begin, just ask us. We're always happy to help provide those guidance. So with that, I'm going to open up to questions. I will take a quick look at our chat here. I'll be honest, I haven't been following it along, so give me a minute just to take a look. And Tony, I'll feed some questions over to you and myself, and I'll answer them as we go here. So give me one sec, everyone. Let me get in. All right. So first question I see here is from one of our members. He's asking, do multiple suppliers offer different pricing for the same products, or are they all the same pricing model? And his challenge is having to go through a sole source justification process if he doesn't have a competitive process to get quotes. So does Canoe help with this, Tony?
Yeah, so I would say, as we go through our process, Alan, is that we are obtaining pricing along with in those proposal processes. So, so again, like I mentioned, we do that full, transparent, competitive procurement process. We establish baseline pricing as well. So, so that is all pre-vetted, part of the pre-vetting process that we do in the awards to our suppliers.
Perfect. So actually, I see Alan did have a follow-up question, so I'll just go to that right away. Do you have any recommendations on how to modify their procurement process to take advantage of the program, or is that something that you could meet with them and talk through?
Yeah, for sure. I would say reach out. We can certainly walk through that. I have a few tips and tricks from the way I used to do IT procurement that might be of use.
Perfect. The next question we have is from Luke Reed. Is there a way to find other Canoe members in their province? You think it would be great to collab and see how they're making use of it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, well, I would say visit our website. We have close to, I think, about 84 or 85 programs right now that are available to our members. And they're all broken into different programs, over 450 suppliers across the board. And so there's a lot of different options for members to look at, whether it comes to heavy construction, to IT, to office supplies. We have pretty much anything covered there for a member.
That's perfect. And obviously, for anyone on the call, please feel free to reach out to me. Obviously, I have contacts with City of Lethbridge and others who are currently using the program, so I'm happy to connect you with them if you want to talk to them as well. So I think that's great. And I did just see there is one comment in the chats here just asking if you guys can get the video as the audio was coming and going for you. Absolutely. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will be sending out the recording at the end of this. So hopefully that audio will come through in the recording, and that'll be of help to you. So, just going down through here, just to throw it out, if there's any last questions, feel free to throw them into the chat. I know we're pretty much right at time here. But otherwise, we thank you all for attending. And if we haven't gotten your question, or you do need an extra question, please feel free to reach out to us. I can always connect you with Tony if it's really specific with Canoe, and we can have a group conversation and just see where your next steps are. So thank you again, everyone, for attending. And yeah, we're looking forward to working with all of you in the future.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.